was then followed by the Intelligence Committee Chairman Adam Schiff, who made his own remarks specifically directed toward what happens next in the U.S. Senate.
Coming up is the blue-collar worker. Its percentage the best, the blue-collar worker. They had 2 and 3 jobs. The blue-collar worker is going up the most. Anyway, so you know what else the thing I'm happiest about? African-American unemployment, the lowest in the history of our country. African-American. Remember I used to say, you remember, look at you. Are you the greatest guy? Everyone thinks, do I pay? I'm telling you, I have a group of African-American guys and gals, by the way, that follow me around, and they think I pay them, and I don't. I love them, they love me. They come. How many rallies have you come to? A lot. They're great people, just great. Thank you. I don't even know who the hell he is that right? I don't know him, but I like him. I see him at so many rallies. I appreciate it. You and your group, they're great people. Thank you. So you're obviously doing well if you can travel around like that, right? He knows. I appreciate it. I really do. I think it's fantastic. Thank you. Thank you. But think of this. African-American unemployment is the lowest it's ever been in the history of our country. Poverty levels at a horrible poverty level in the negative sense. Now their poverty levels are the best they've ever been in the history of our country. Same with Hispanic Americans. The best unemployment numbers and employment numbers. And the same with Asians. The best unemployment. And women, I'm sorry, 71 years. Best in 71 years. I'd let the women down. But I think within another couple of months, you'll be historical. So only 71 years. The best in 71 years. But what we're doing has been an incredible thing. It's an incredible thing. And when I'm on the debate stage with one of these characters, and they try and say negative stuff, and I'll just say, well, here's the story. In the history of our country, this group's doing the best, and that group's doing the best, and the women are doing the best, and everybody's doing, and frankly, you know what it is? The whole country's doing the best, okay? The whole country's doing the best. So we have records on everything, and yet they're trying to, and they really are, they've never seen anything like it. They're accusing me, really, of doing what Joe Biden admitted what he did. How about this? They protect him. Did you see the crummy debate? Those debates are so boring. They're dying in the ratings. They're dying. They're dying. While it's totally unsupported. What's unsupported? He's on tape saying that he's holding back $1 billion from Ukraine unless you change the prosecutor. While this, how about that question? I won't say who answered because, you know, I actually used to like the guy. He was a nice guy to me, but now I don't like him so much, but that's okay. But he goes, well, it's totally unsubstantiated. And while we beg your mercy that we're asking you even to bring up this question. But President Trump said you refused to give $1 billion of taxpayer money to Ukraine unless they get the prosecutor to stop looking at your son and your son's company. And Sleepy Joe gives a sleepy answer. And that's the end of it. That's it. And then whenever I bring it up, do you ever notice they always use, well, these charges are totally unsubstantiated. He's on tape. If that were me, it's the electric chair. They would bring the electric chair back. Now the guy's on tape, and they always say it's unsubstantiated. It is not supported by fact. One of them the other day, they finally changed the word. It is not supported by fact. No, it's supported by tape. Now it's unbelievable. In many ways, I'd like to have him win. Because number one, he's going to have to eventually answer that question. And she said he doesn't know where he is. That's the other problem. Now, I've been doing this for a long time, and I have have much bigger crowds than anybody's ever had in history. By the way, do you know what? I say it against the fake news because you know what they're going to say. Every stadium is packed. I give my people one instruction. Get the largest stadium you can get. Now, that's why I was a little surprised, but in Battle Creek, you don't have that many, right? Not too many stadiums. But I wanted to be here. You know why I wanted to be here? First of all, the crowd is incredible, the crowd outside. But let me tell you, you know why I wanted to be here? Because we have a lot of choices. But I wanted to be here because this area supported me so overwhelmingly, and I said I want to be there. Pretty simple. Pretty simple. Pretty simple. I wanted to be here for that reason, and I just want to say thank you, because I'll tell you what, you came in, I don't know, I didn't get 100%, but we got a damn good percentage, right? We got a damn good percentage. So it's really thrilling to be here. But we're joined tonight by many terrific Republican leaders. Your Michigan House Speaker, Lee Cmgus.
News breaks out, we'll break in. I'm Trace Gallagher. Now back to Prime Time and Sean Hannity.
So the Democratic-controlled House, they have, yes, gone full steam ahead with their total sham, ship show, charade, and impeachment coup attempt. Here to break it all down. House Minority Leader, Congressman Kevin McCarthy. Well, I will say this, you know, in the midst of madness, chaos, insanity, and zero evidence, one thing has happened. The American people, you can tell by the polls that we've been talking about, have woken up. And so has the Republican caucus, because I've never seen them fight this hard or been this united against what is such an injustice and insanity now for 3+ years.
They have been more united than we've ever been apart. And Sean, through all this, you know, at the end of the day now, the Democratic conference is smaller and we are stronger. And that's a difference going in from 11 months from now into an election. The president is still president today. He'll be president tomorrow. And he's going to be president after 2020 when he gets reelected.
You know, the more you look at it, how is it possible? I can't name a single thing. Maybe you can help me out here. I know they want to desperately do something and they're going to go ahead with the president's trade deal, but I can't think of a single thing that they have done except never-ending destroy Trump, hate Trump, psychotic Trump, hate Trump. Can't But we, the people, you know, the people part.
You know what? It's not just you. Even AOC's first chief of staff, he tweeted and asked the American public to name me one thing that Nancy Pelosi as Speaker, one problem that they have solved for the American public. And that's what America's saying. That's why you saw the independent drop. You see the president's approval rating is
behavior to give us not a single witness, a single document. And to me, that is the definition of destroying our democracy. That's the definition of a monarchy or a dictatorship. It is certainly not a democracy.
On this issue, too, the president's...
Gave the A-plus treatment. Take down the flags. She calls me up. It's the nicest thing that's ever happened. Thank you so much. John would be so thrilled. He's looking down, he'd be so thrilled. Thank you so much, sir. I said, that's okay, don't worry about it. Maybe he's looking up, I don't know.
I mean, once again, we saw something like this after the late Senator John McCain died. First of all, the idea that by bestowing honors upon a long-serving member of Congress who has passed away, that that's somehow a personal favor by President Trump. And second of all, just the lack of compassion, the lack of basic human decency. Debbie Dingell is still mourning her late husband. He's not even been gone for a year. And the idea that he would suggest, and obviously Jim was being polite earlier, but obviously he's suggesting that maybe John Dingell is in hell. Just an incredibly crass thing, and more importantly, this shows how much this really bothers him, how rattled he is.
This is disgraceful. Yeah. I mean, this is just disgraceful. What he is describing is a congresswoman who called him and thanked him after the funeral and flying flags at half-staff, and I believe he was the longest-serving member of the Congress.
More than 50 years he was in the House.
This is disgraceful. She called him to say thank you, and now he is saying this vote of hers is some kind of betrayal, some personal betrayal to him, because John Dingell got the funeral that he deserved. And by the way, This is a president saying this in the state of Michigan.
Right, his
where
state.
John Dingell was beloved. And it's just, you know, and then going after Nancy Pelosi. I mean, I can't think of another word other than disgraceful to describe what the president is doing this evening.
But this is the type of conduct. This is the reason Nancy Pelosi is Speaker. This is the reason you had the suburban revolt against President Trump. This is the reason Democrats won by such a big margin in the 2018 midterms. And it is one of the reasons Democrats believe, even though this impeachment is controversial for a number of their members, they believe the president will continue this behavior and maybe even accelerate this behavior because of his raw anger. Now, Debbie Dingell is a partisan. She's a Nancy Pelosi deputy. The president has every right to be upset with her vote. He's a Republican president. But there's a way to do it, and that's not the way to do it, especially in the case of John Dingell. Any president would have done this for John Dingell. He's the longest-serving member of the House of Representatives. He worked with Democrats and Republicans. And a broader point, he's a member of America's greatest generation. He served in World War II. He's buried at Arlington National Cemetery. You can take issue with Debbie Dingell without doing that.
Yeah, but in some ways, you feel like this is a president who has to keep going lower and lower and lower in many ways to satisfy his base. He goes to these big rallies, you know, people who are adoring and his cheering fans, and they in some ways are immune to some of this. And you saw him there, the crowd sort of not
through the votes of we the people. And if the president is engaging in destroying the election, inviting foreign allies or coercing foreign allies to interfere in those elections, he's taking away your vote, the vote of all of your listeners, my vote, and it's essentially not a democracy. And I think the gravity of that situation in 2020, but also for every future president, for the future of our democracy and the future of our Constitution, this is a gravely serious moment. And that's why it was so painful to watch the Republicans today as they treated this like a game, as they stood up for a man and not for the country, as they stood up for their party but refused to stand up for the Constitution.
Their rooms, patting each other on the back, saying, hey, take one for the team. You know why? Because the Democrats' team is here in Washington, D.C. For Matt and I, our team are back home, you know, is back home in our respective states. But here's the other thing. Adam Schiff doesn't want to be cross-examined. He's on the House floor earlier tonight, and he was, you know, saying the same kind of lies that he's been saying. But I would put him up against Matt Gaetz, let Matt Gaetz cross-examine him. I think it would knock the smile off of Adam Schiff's face.
Listen, I'd take that too. I've offered him 3 hours on 625 of the best radio stations in America, Matt Gaetz, and an hour, the #1 show in cable. Right here, the full hour. We'll make it the Hannity Schiff show. And it will be a Schiff show for him.
Yeah. Well, Adam Schiff doesn't want to answer any tough questions because, of course, we would prove that this is not a crime by the president. This is a setup by Adam Schiff and people who don't like the president. For most of the American people who watch today, they're probably thinking that the Democrats have more detailed plans about how to make Ukraine great again than actually how to serve our country. And I was glad that just hours ago, Mark went down to the floor and made the case for the Trump presidency in the broadest and most relevant possible terms. Rising wages for people, jobs that are turning into careers, trade deals that are restoring opportunity for the American worker. Donald Trump has done so much for this country, and that's why they're impeaching him. Not because of the Ukraine. Heck, I don't think that some of these Democrats could have even pointed to the Ukraine on a map when they first got into Congress, but it's that they despise Donald Trump,
they really
and more
cared,
importantly, they don't like the people that voted for him.
They would care about you not getting the billion. That to me is all the evidence you need. That you're not getting the billion, unless you fire the guy that's investigating my zero experience son. Oh, we can't touch that. We can't talk about that. We can't talk to the whistleblower. We can't talk about the contact with Schiff and the office and the whistleblower, hearsay whistleblower. All right, but here's the thing. The way I see it tonight, this is their best shot, Mark Meadows. This is it. They took it.
Well,
They've done nothing else.
Well, it's their best shot. Listen, they have tried to change the opinion of the American people. Week after week, they've gone out with innuendo, hearsay, secondhand witnesses, and tried to make the case that this is not what it really is, which is a partisan attack on the President of the United States. Listen.
They do a big number on it. You know the one I'm talking about, right? Sinks, right? Showers. And what goes with a sink and a shower? 10 times, right? 10 times. Well, Bob, not me, of course not me, but you, him. But I never mentioned that, because one time I mentioned all three. I said, sinks, showers, and toilets. The headline was Trump with the toilets, toilets. That's all they were. They don't even mention it. So I didn't mention that, okay? I go off the record. But you know what? It's terrible. You want to wash your hands, you turn on the sink, the water comes out. So you leave the water go 10 times as long. It's the same thing. You have a shower. It's no good for me. For me, you know, the one thing that came out really good about being in this business, they always used to say I wore a hairpiece. It's okay, I know people wear hairpiece, but they always used to say, they don't say that anymore. Because I have been through the worst storms. If you wear one of those suckers, you gotta give it up fast, because within 2 weeks they got you. You look handsome, don't worry about it. But in the last 2 decades before my election, we lost 1 in 5 auto manufacturing jobs in this country. The people are trying to impeach us for doing all of the things that they've wanted to do for so many years. And that's why it doesn't work. We look so forward to taking it on. And it is all about cleaning the swamp, draining the swamp. And we have a very, very big, bad, dangerous swamp. Okay, that's enough of that. That's enough. So, among the very first acts that I did was to stop the deal that would have dealt a death blow to the U.S. auto industry. I withdrew from the horrible Trans-Pacific Partnership that would have ended your auto industry. A lot of people don't know that, but I do. Remember TPP? We were basically ceding our auto industry to these countries that were just going to rip us off. The people that made these trade deals, it's like, where did they come? Like the one in Korea. That was a Hillary Clinton special. She said, this will produce 250,000 new jobs. And I said, well, what happened? He said, well, she was right, except it was for South Korea, not for us. No, it's true. It produced 250,000 jobs for South Korea. These deals were so bad, but now they're getting really good, and some of them are getting like great, and over a period of time, they're going to be phenomenal. Wait till you see the numbers that start coming out of this country over a short period of time. But we have to go through a little pain because we have to do it, and then they all say, we're going to withdraw. And then I say, you can withdraw. I don't care. We're putting tariffs on your country. Then they say, we'd love to make a deal, sir. The new USMCA has powerful protections to keep auto manufacturing jobs right here in Michigan where they belong. Since the election, we've created 41,000 brand new motor vehicle and parts jobs, manufacturing jobs. Remember the statement by President Obama?
Basically let him know that if he is going to disrupt the process, they're going to do a version of that. If the White House is going to simply not participate at all in this process, and they didn't, then they're going to not necessarily abide the same way. But to your point about contradictory messages, I think they're coming to that a little bit late. I think that there have been a lot of competing messages coming out of the House Democrats over the last 2 weeks. One is about this hurry up and wait thing in terms of moving the articles forward. The other is, in describing him in these terms through this impeachment process, Democrats have described him as a national emergency over and over again. And a lot of Democrats would say, even those who are uncomfortable with impeachment, there was a reason for that and that they had to. At the same time, they are cutting a trade deal with him. So he is a national emergency, but they've also given him his chief legislative priority over the last year. Voters do have trouble understanding two things at once sometimes, and I'm not sure how this helps the House case.
The president says we didn't lose a vote. That's true unless you count Justin Amash, who has been defecting from the party somewhat. The Democrats did. They lost 5, okay? So there's Van Drew from New Jersey, who's thinking about changing parties. There's Colin Peterson from Minnesota, and Tulsi Gabbard voted present on the first article, abuse of power. Now, Van Drew and Peterson also voted no on the second one, which was abuse of Congress, and they were joined by Jared Golden of Maine. So, all in all, there are 5 names on the Democrat side that either voted present or nay to one or both of those articles, just to keep track. His reaction is ugly early, surrounded by people at a rally. Pelosi shut his people up twice during the actual proceeding. Let's just remind you of what happened. This was during the debate voting period.
On this vote, the yeas are 230, the nays are 197, present is 1. Article 1 is adopted. The question is on adoption of Article 2. On this vote, the yeas are 229, the nays are 198, present is 1. Article 2 is adopted.
That is a face that any Italian child knows. The zip it, I don't want to hear it. She has played strength for strength. So where does that leave her right now, though? I mean, she did the job. This is compelling, this. You keep saying he's a continuing national security threat. That's why you had to do this so quickly, and you couldn't fight what they saw as pretentious legal fights over access to these big names who supposedly have the answers for the president. So where's the leverage?
I'm most interested to see whether the result of today and tonight is a momentum shift. I have to believe that there were more eyes on the proceedings that have just ended than at any other point in this process. But here's the question that needs to be answered. Why has public support for impeachment actually declined as the hearings have played themselves out?
His approval is up.
And his approval is up. But with regard to the decline, I mean, you can look at the Marquette study of Wisconsin, most critical state probably of all 50 in the election, the Gallup survey that came out today. My own theory is that most Americans, many Americans, in the end, because it got so damn nasty, just decided to chalk this up to partisan bickering. Pinnacle of partisanship. You asked Maggie, what's the headline in the future? That would be mine. I don't think that this was born of partisanship. I think this was born of his conduct. And frankly, the underlying facts are pretty straightforward in the end. But it was very hard for people who are working for a living and raising kids and so forth to follow all the names and the places and the dates.
So why would that redound to his benefit?
I think a lot of it just got chalked up to, it's really more fighting going on in Washington. We have an election. Here's the answer to your question. We have an election on the horizon. Let's go resolve it at the ballot box.
Causation, correlation in terms of his job approval going up and the impeachment going down. Do you think those just go together?
I mean, I don't know. That's a political question. What I know from a legal perspective is public sentiment can change when people pay more attention. And in the same way that Michael says, more people probably paid attention today as we got to the seriousness of the final moment of the vote on impeachment. I think the nation got a little quieter. And notwithstanding all the histrionics leading up to it, it's a big deal. It's an important deal. I know Trump makes fun of the fact that Nancy Pelosi says she's prayerful and that it's a somber moment. It is. It really is. But I felt it. I think a lot of people felt it, no matter what side of the aisle you're on. And my question is, to answer your question with a question, is if and when there is a trial, if it takes the form that I think the Democrats want, with live, compelling witnesses once again, I think more of the nation is going to tune in because the stakes are now higher. Now it's the trial.
It's unlikely.
Mitch McConnell's a smart guy. I think he will try to avoid that, and he probably has the power to avoid it. But if for some reason you have an actual trial with actual witnesses who are telling the same story, I think more people will tune in, and it's an open question whether that will change minds. Maybe we're so polarized that it won't, but that's the next opportunity for public sentiment to shift.
Yeah, one person who actually wants witnesses also, by the way, is Donald.
Trace the millions of dollars that was flowing.
Responsibility now is to negotiate with Leader Schumer a set of rules, an approach towards the witnesses and the documents that would be part of any trial that gives us a real shot at a fair and a reasonable trial. As you referenced, even during the bitter and divided period in which President Clinton was impeached, there was a vote, ultimately a vote of 100-1, adopting the rules and the approach that was worked out between the majority and the minority leaders. So there is precedent for that. As Michael Beschloss just said a few minutes ago, the Constitution entrusts to the Senate the trial of a president who's been impeached by the House, but doesn't provide the rules for it. So what we look for, I think, is the expectations that the average American citizen has about what a trial looks like based on our experiences with trials in our courts. There are fact witnesses that are directly relevant to the charge. There are documents directly relevant to the charge. And here, it is the president's own obstruction, his direction to his folks to refuse to deliver those documents or that testimony that is the second article of impeachment. I'll remind you, President Clinton and President Nixon directed their own close advisors and cabinet officials to testify, to cooperate with impeachment inquiries. That's a piece of what makes this so unprecedented. I also, Rachel, just have to share one thing with you. I got a remarkable thing today in the mail. I got this little package with a beautiful White House seal on heavy stationery. It's a 6-page letter on White House letterhead. If this is the president's response, if this is his defense, I got to tell you, it is unhinged. It is something that belongs not on White House stationery and letterhead, but really more on the ravings of a conspiracy blog or Russian television. It is meandering. It is unfocused. It doesn't respond to the charges rather than to denounce the whole thing as a hoax and an attack on the Constitution. But at the very end of this long and rambling letter that President Trump has apparently sent to all of us in the Senate today, he references the fact that he's worried about history and that he hopes 100 years now, future Americans will review this history and not repeat the same mistake. This is the first inkling we have of what kind of a defense President Trump might offer in the Senate. We don't know who will represent him, whether it'll be Rudy Giuliani, some of the House folks who spoke today in the Republican caucus, or whether it will be a disciplined and legal team such as Representative in his defense in the Mueller probes. I think for a bit of a couple of weeks, Rachel, I hope that Leader McConnell and some of my Republican colleagues look to history and to the responsibility of and in particular, I'm hoping that there are a few Republicans who are willing to press Leader McConnell, because we'll end up getting...
You have the check engine light. Crying Chuck. Crying Chuck Schumer. You know, I used to be a big contributor to... He used to kiss my ass, Chuck Schumer. He'd do anything. He would have done anything for me. I didn't think I asked him. Get Schumer on the phone. You do this, you do that. You get him on the phone. That's he would have done, I didn't need anything, but he would have done anything. Now it's like, the president has not acted. Give me a break. Give me a break. Find out how much money did I give a raise to Chuck Schumer. And Chuck, give all that money back, please. Carolyn Maloney, give that money back. Every penny should come back. They act so pompous, they act so righteous. They're not righteous. They're not righteous. They're bad people. The far-left Democrats have never been more extreme than they are now. Democrats are pushing a socialist takeover of health care that will take away your coverage and take away your doctor. 180 million people are going to lose. A lot of people here now have health care finally under us. That's phenomenal. And that's what you want. They want to take it away, 180. They want you to go to a hospital ward someplace and sit there all night. I don't think so. Not in this group. And you know what? Some people, it's good. Some people. But can you imagine they want to take away 180 million people, great, private, highly negotiated health care where you have your own doctor? Remember Obama 28 times, 28 times. You can have your doctor. You can have your plan. Didn't work out that way, did it? I think we should impeach him for that. Let's impeach him. For that, for the IRS scandal, for the guns. Remember the guns he was giving them to anybody that wanted them? He gave guns to the worst people in the world, and then they didn't have them registered right. Not too good. Impeach him. Why did the Republicans impeach him? Those were really... How about giving Iran $1.8 billion in cash? How about that? By the way, I ended the Iran nuclear deal. I hope you're happy. Much different country. But how about giving Iran $1.8 billion in cash? Many big planes going over to Iran, loaded up to the ceiling with cash. You know what? $1.8 billion. You ever see, like, at a casino, $1 million wrapped up? It's a big pile of stuff. That's $1 million. Now multiply it. $1.8 billion in cash he gave. So why is he allowed to do that? Did anybody try and impeach him for that? Everybody knew it was wrong. Republicans will strongly protect patients with pre-existing conditions, and we will protect your pre-existing physicians. Virtually every top Democrat also now supports late-term abortion, ripping babies straight from the mother's womb, right up until the moment of birth, right? That is why I've asked Congress to prohibit extreme late-term abortion, because Republicans believe that every child is a sacred gift of God. Democrats are now the party of high taxes, high crime, open borders, late-term abortion, socialism, and blatant corruption, and that's what it is. The Republican Party is the party of the American worker, the American family, and the American dream, and that's really what it is, still. We're also the party of the great Abraham Lincoln. A lot of people forget that, but we have to bring it up. To protect the health and safety of our citizens, we awarded $100 million to improve water infrastructure in Flint. How badly was Flint? Who were the geniuses that did that deal? You have clean water coming into Flint. They had to pay a very tiny little fee. So instead they go into this horrible, horrible, really polluted water, and the water comes out of there. They spend hundreds of millions of dollars to save like a couple of bucks, and the water was so terrible. And it hurt the people. It hurt the people. But we're getting it fixed. And I know your previous governor was a Republican, but I was not a big fan of his. I was not. But I'm not a big fan of the one that can't fix the potholes either. We're committed to ensuring America has the cleanest air and the cleanest water on planet Earth. And that's what it's about. It's about clean air, and it's about clean, beautiful water, and it's about keeping our industry, not closing it because of the ridiculous Paris Climate Accord. How's Paris doing? I don't think too well. How's Paris doing with the yellow vests? The yellow vests, you know why? Because they raised gasoline prices so they could send the money all over the world to countries that the people in France never heard of. It's not working out too well. We're lowering prices, we're lowering taxes, we're making it possible. I mean, look at gas prices now. Look at gas prices. I recognize Israel's true capital and opened the American embassy in Jerusalem. And we also recognized Israeli sovereignty over the Golan Heights. Big deal. For years you watched as your politicians apologized. Remember? I would like to apologize. I would like to apologize. No. We don't apologize. Now you have a president who is standing up for America, and we are standing up for the great people of Michigan. You're getting your auto industry back. At stake in our present battle is the survival of the American nation. If you want your children to grow up a land of safety, it's really, we want a land of safety. Justice. Well, I don't know, when I look at those FBI reports, we gotta clean up a lot. What they've done to hurt people, what they've done to hurt with Comey and these horrible people, what they've done to hurt people. I think one of the best things I did as president, a lot of people would say, you know, with all what we've done for the economy and everything, but one of the best things is firing James Comey's ass out of there. Boy, those reports are coming. Did you see the other day? Well, first time now he's, in other words, he's 50% there, folks. He's hit the golden pond. Anyway, so what we're doing is we're doing things that are going to make our victory, and you know, it's like a tree. We need that extra 4 years. We've done so much. Even Right to Try. You know Right to Try? People who are traveling, they're terminally ill. They're traveling all over the world. We have the best medical in the world, the best doctors, the best labs, the best hospital. They're traveling all over the world, right, to try and get, because it takes years to get something approved. And I said, wait a minute, folks, why aren't we doing this? And they've been trying to do it for 49 years. They couldn't get it done. Not that easy. The drug companies didn't want the liability. The country didn't want the liability. The insurance companies didn't want the liability. I said, here's what we do. We'll sign an agreement with the people where you're exculped from all liability. That's a good idea. And it's a very strong agreement, so we can't get sued. But I said, listen, you know, they were worried they're going to hurt people. I said, these people are terminally ill. They're terminally ill. And so we do it now. 9 months ago, all the legislators, after 49 years, so if somebody's sick, they don't have to go to Asia, they don't have to go to Europe, or if you're poor, you go home and you die. Now, what happens? Very simple. You sign that document, they work it out. You wouldn't believe how many lives are being saved. It's incredible. It's incredible. I'm very proud of it. Right to try. I hope you don't need it. You don't want it. You don't want it, okay? But if you do, it's there. With your help, we will lift millions of more of our citizens from welfare to work, dependence to independence, and poverty to prosperity. Together, we will elect a Republican Congress to create a fair, safe, sane, and lawful system of immigration. We will enact the greatest trade deals ever made. They'll result in more products proudly stamped with that beautiful phrase, made in the USA. We will achieve new breakthroughs in science and medicine. What we're doing is unbelievable. We're so far ahead of everybody. What we've done in the last 3 years with the FDA, and even the speed of what we're doing. It would take 12, 13, 14 years to get things approved. It's down to a much smaller number. But we're finding new cures for childhood cancer, and we are ending the AIDS epidemic in America. We've started the process. Who would have thought that? In 10 years, it's a 10-year process, we will have ended the AIDS epidemic in America. And it could have been started before I came to office. It was just wasted time. We will defend privacy, free speech, free assembly, religious liberty, and the right to keep and bear arms. Above all, we will never stop fighting for the sacred values that bind us together as one America. We support, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. We stand with the incredible heroes of law enforcement. They're incredible. And that includes ICE. Do you know how tough these people are? These are great patriots. They love our country. Even the sheriffs, the law enforcement, some of the people that they're dealing with, these guys walk into, they call them a nest. And in some cases, they just start swinging. I don't know. They can have it. They love it. These are great. If we didn't have them, and I told you before, they're taking out bad, bad, bad people by the thousands, especially MS-13 gang members. Who's going to do that? Who's going to do that? Anybody in the front row? I don't know. What about you? You're a tough guy. You might do it. You could do it. I don't know. You might. Yeah, you could. Would you? We're going to recruit you. I think you could. You could handle yourself. No, these are tough people, right? You got to be tough. Then they get accused. They're too tough. Oh, they're too tough. You have some of these guys. They knife people. They don't even need a gun because it's more painful. They knife the two young girls, 16 years old, beautiful. They cut them up into pieces because it was more painful than shooting them. These are animals. And then Nancy Pelosi said, I shouldn't use the term animal. And by the way, she ought to go home and take care of her district where the homeless is all over the place. And the tents and the filth and the garbage is eroding right into the Pacific Ocean and into their beaches. She ought to go and take care of her district and said, did you see what's going on? And it rains, and it's filth, and it's needles, and it's drugs, and it's you know what. It's everything. And it goes right into those storm sewers. Storm, not sanitary, storm. And it goes right out into the Pacific Ocean, into the beaches. And we find San Francisco and Los Angeles and San Francisco, but we've just sent them a tremendous dollar fine for what they're doing. And Nancy Pelosi is playing games. She ought to go home and take care of the homeless and take care of the filth and everything. San Francisco was the most beautiful city. When you look at what's happened with the tents all over the place, where the police officers are getting sick, just from walking the beat. They're getting sick. Diseases are coming back that this world hasn't seen for 30, 40, 50 years. It's a disgrace. She ought to get back and take care of her district instead of wasting time on this nonsense. We believe in the dignity of work and the sanctity of life. We believe that faith and family, not government bureaucracy, are the true American way. We believe that children should be taught to love our country, honor our history, and to always respect our great American flag. And we live by the words of our national motto, and it's always going to be up there. You know, they want to take everything down. They don't want Thomas Jefferson anymore. They don't want anything. That's a terrible thing, and we fight for it now. We fight. These words will never be taken off. I don't care where I am. If I'm up there, if I'm down here, I don't know. But we'll be fighting. We'll never take these words off. In God we trust. We stand on the shoulders of generations of Michigan patriots who gave their blood, sweat, and tears for this beloved nation. This is the state where Henry Ford invented the assembly line. It's the place where General Motors, Chrysler, and Kellogg transformed the nation. It gave us Motown, the Mustang, and the might of the American Midwest. This is the American Midwest. And Michigan is the state where generations of strong, tough, and proud American workers made this into the greatest and most powerful nation in the history of the world, and we are making it bigger, better, and stronger than ever before by far. Loyal citizens like you help build this country, and together we are taking back our country. We are returning power to you, the American people. The Democrats took the people of Michigan for granted, but with us, you will never be forgotten again. The forgotten men and women of this country will never, ever be forgotten again. And I'm fighting for you, and I love doing it with everything that I have, and I will never, ever stop, and you know that. I will say, I could have a much easier life. Some people say, why is he doing it? You know why I'm doing it? Because we're doing the thing, and look, what we're doing is we're bringing back our country again. We're respected again. We're respected again. We are so respected, you don't even know how respected. You know, I went to NATO where we were being ripped off because the other countries, you have 29 countries, and the other countries weren't paying their bills. They were delinquent, you know, in real estate. I noticed people are using that word. I've been using it for the last year. It's like a real estate term. That's when they don't pay their rent, right? Well, they weren't paying. And you have to see this chart until I got there. You got to pay. And they said, well, does that mean you won't protect us? I said, you don't want the answer to that question. Over the last, and the Secretary General, Stoltenberg, over the last period of just 2 years, I raised, not from us, nothing from us, $130 billion, but that's nothing. And over a short period of time, they will be paying $530 billion more, all of those countries. My biggest fan in the world is Secretary General Stoltenberg of NATO. He says, I never thought this could, I'm telling you, if you look, it's like 15 years just down. President Obama would go down and make a speech. I'd like to thank everybody for being here. Thanks a lot, great job. Sayonara by Bush, they all did. Nobody ever asked for money. We were spending for 100% of NATO. We're protecting Europe. They rip us off on trade, right? They rip us off like crazy. We lose hundreds of billions of dollars on trade. We're changing that. But it's a long time. You know, it's been going on a long time. They don't take your product. They don't take your cars. They don't take your farm product. They don't take your medical machines. We do a big business. They sell us, we don't sell them because they put restrictions. We have better equipment than them, but they make it so that our equipment doesn't qualify. You know, it's called artificial barriers or non-monetary barriers. It's brutal what they do. I'm telling you, they're as bad as China, just smaller. They are as bad as China, just smaller. And now China's doing great. We're very happy, but we have to do something with that. We have to take care of our people. We can't be ripped off by these countries. So NATO is ripping us off militarily, but now they're starting to pay big money, and that's good. We want to help them. We want to be there with them, but they have to pay. They have to pay. $530 billion, and the fake news doesn't want to even talk about it. They don't want to talk about it. They talk about other things. They don't want to talk about that. When you get a chance, though, you know, it's a couple of weeks, maybe you could say, over a short period of time, NATO countries will be paying $530 billion more. More! Not total, more. How's that? Good? That's not too bad. Nobody else could do that, I guarantee you. I won't tell you what took place in those closed-door meetings. Some of them don't like me. You know, they like Obama. Germany likes Obama. A lot of these countries, France, they like Obama. It's embarrassing. In France, President Obama is more popular than President Trump. Well, I should be. I just tax their wine and champagne coming into our country because they're ripping us off on the internet, okay? If I ever become more popular, that means I'm not doing my job. You should say he's out. It's true. I could be loved in Germany. I could be loved in Germany. Oh, they'd love me. My father came from Germany, parents. And I could be loved in Germany. They'd like me so much, but then I'm not doing my job for you, right? Have to do it. Have to do it. With your help, your devotion, your drive, we're going to keep on working. We're going to keep on fighting. We are going to keep on winning, winning, winning. Because we are one movement, one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. America is thriving like never before. And ladies and gentlemen of Michigan, the best is yet to come. Great state. Great state. You better remember all those jobs in a year from now, I'll tell you. I'll say that state let me down. I don't think that's going to happen. I'm hearing very good things. You know, the interesting thing, before it was like a promise. I said, I'm going to bring car back, I'm going to bring this, I'm going to bring... It was all like, you know, it's good, you believe me, I was successful, all that stuff. But now, we've done it. We have done more than I promised. No politician... I promised, we've done more than we promised. No politician, I think, has ever done that. Together, we will make America wealthy again. We will make America strong again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again. Thank you. Thank you, Michigan. Thank you.
And President Trump wrapping up tonight's campaign rally here in Battle Creek, Michigan. During the rally, the U.S. House voted on and passed the 2 articles of impeachment against the president. One for abuse of power, the vote was 230 to 197, and the other article on obstruction of Congress by a vote of 229 to 198. Hawaii Democratic Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard voted present on both articles. Independent Representative Justin Amash voted for impeachment. President Trump now joins fellow Presidents Andrew Johnson and Bill Clinton as the only U.S. presidents to have been impeached. They were later acquitted by the Senate. The articles of impeachment against President Trump now move to the Senate, where a trial is expected to start in January. As always, you can follow the House live on C-SPAN and the Senate live on C-SPAN 2. Go shopping and see what's now available at the C-SPAN